You can spend a year or more and tens of thousands of dollars developing a product that nobody ends up buying. I've seen it happen over and over again, and it's almost never because the product itself was bad. Instead, it's because the founder built first and then sold later. And by the time that they found out something was off, well, it was too late to fix it affordably. But there's one thing that you can do before you even have a prototype that changes the entire trajectory of your product. You can sell it first. In this video, I'm going to walk you through 3 stages of selling before building and show you how each one builds momentum for the next. So by the time that you're ready to manufacture, you already have proof that people want what you're making. Hi, I'm John Teal. I spent over a decade as a microchip design engineer at Texas Instruments before I developed and launched my own product into hundreds of retail stores, and now I help others do the same. So most product creators follow the same sequence. They come up with the idea, they build the prototype, they spend months refining it, then they get it manufactured, and then they finally try to market and sell it. I mean, it feels logical and it's what almost everyone does. But what actually happens is that you spend months, sometimes over a year, refining the engineering, getting the enclosure just right, maybe even ordering inventory. And then when you finally put it in front of real customers, well, you discover that the thing that they care most about isn't even a feature you prioritized. And by that point, every change is expensive and slow. A new PCB layout, new injection molds, new packaging, recertification, and months of delays, all because you learned something about your customer that you could have learned much earlier. Those things are easy to fix when you're still in the idea stage, but brutal to fix once you've committed to tooling and especially inventory. So the goal is simple. Learn what matters while you can still act on it. The first stage is customer conversations. And the first sell that you need to make isn't even for money. Instead, it's just to get honest feedback from strangers. Most founders skip this step entirely, or they substitute it with feedback from friends and family, which is almost always useless because people who care about you will always soften their responses. So, a better approach when pitching strangers is to frame yourself as someone researching the problem, maybe evaluating the idea for an investment, rather than someone who's already emotionally attached to the solution. People speak way more honestly when they think you're a skeptic rather than the product creator. Go where your target customers already spend time, whether that's at the gym, a baby store, a hardware store, or even an online community, and start asking questions about the problem that your product solves. A great starting question is something like, how do you currently deal with this problem, and what's the most frustrating part about it? Product founders who do this consistently say that the first few conversations feel really awkward, but after that, you start hearing patterns that completely reshape how you think about your product and the market. And don't just talk to end users, talk to the people who run those businesses too, because they see the problem from a completely different angle and often know things that your customers won't think to tell you. I know surveys are really tempting, but they are totally unreliable because people will click yes to hypotheticals when it costs them nothing. What you're really after in this stage is whether the problem is real, how people describe it in their own words, and what they've already tried. That language then becomes the foundation for everything that comes later: your product sales page, your crowdfunding campaign, and your marketing copy. If you're still early in your product journey and want a clear roadmap from idea to manufactured product, I've put together a free guide called The Ultimate Guide to develop and launch a hardware product that walks you through all stages in order. Links in the description below. Stage number 2 is what are called reservation funnels. So here's the first rule of product validation: nothing matters unless money changes hands. And the second rule is that the first dollar is always the hardest to get. And yeah, I've kind of made up these rules, but they still hold true. A reservation funnel asks potential customers to put down a small deposit, usually $1 to maybe $10, just to reserve one of the first units once it's finally available. That tiny transaction separates sounds cool from I'd actually buy this, because pulling out a credit card, even for $1, requires real purchase intent. The page itself looks like a normal product listing with good visuals, clear sales copy, your target price, and a buy button. But when the user clicks the buy button, it instead shows a message explaining that the product isn't available yet, but that they can reserve one of the first units, usually for a discount if they pay a small reservation fee. But here's where reservation funnels get really powerful. The setup becomes a testing engine. You can swap out feature descriptions and see which version gets more reservations. You can change the price and measure what happens. You can rewrite the headline and watch the conversion rate change. Just make sure that the features you test are ones that you've at least sanity checked for technical feasibility, because in hardware, adding something like Wi-Fi or display can completely change your architecture and BOM cost. So instead of guessing which features matter most or what price the market will bear, you're getting real data from real people spending real money. And often the version customers respond to most is not the version that you originally planned. You can set this up on your own website or use a platform like prelaunch.com that's built specifically for this. Now, a reservation page is only useful if the right people actually see it, so you'll need a way to drive traffic, whether that's through online communities that you've been engaging with in stage one, targeted social media ads, content marketing, or outreach to niche publications and influencers in your space. Even people who don't reserve right away are still valuable because you can collect their email address and follow up with them later as the product develops, building an audience of warm prospects before you ever launch. And what you end up walking away with is a measurable demand signal that you can show to investors, manufacturers, and potential partners, a growing email list of real prospects, and data-driven clarity on features, pricing, and positioning, all before you've committed to a design. Stage 3 is pre-sales and crowdfunding. And at this point, you've got a prototype that looks and works close to the final product. A lot of founders push straight to manufacturing here because they're confident the product will sell, but the smarter move is to pre-sell it first. Customers are now paying full price before the product ships, or maybe just a slightly discounted price, but this requires a lot more trust in the reservation funnel, but it puts you in a position that most founders can only dream about, and that's funded manufacturing with proven demand. The key to making this work is that you've already built credibility through the earlier stages, because you've been talking to customers, collecting reservations, and showing real customer traction. I've seen this work firsthand with members of my hardware academy. One member named Nick started with just an idea. He built an audience around the problem his product solved, developed a prototype within 6 months, and launched a Kickstarter campaign that raised over $300,000, proving demand long before he ever started production. Another member named Ronald opened pre-sales on his own website, got a tech publication to review his prototype, and that single review drove over $60,000 in pre-sales within just a couple days, which funded his manufacturing and attracted suppliers. But there's a responsibility that comes with this. Hardware always takes longer than you expect, and certification and manufacturing will throw surprises at you. Promising unrealistic delivery dates is one of the fastest ways to create angry customers and damage your reputation before your product even ships. So by the time that you pre-sell, you need enough clarity on your timeline to make promises that you can actually keep. And this generally means that you need to have a prototype that's close to being ready for manufacturing. Oh, and don't forget that free ultimate guide that I mentioned. It covers the full journey from idea to manufacturing all in one place, and the link's just in the description. Now, here's why this whole approach changes everything, and it's not just about product validation. Each stage builds on the last in a chain reaction that compounds over time. Customer conversations reveal the real problem and give you the exact language that your market uses. That language makes your reservation page convert better because you're speaking in your customer's words instead of your own. Reservation data tells you which features and price points actually work, so you stop guessing and start building with evidence. Those numbers give you a credible story for investors, manufacturers, and distributors. the kind of proof that opens doors that you never get through with just an idea and a pitch deck. With my own product, I presented a crude, barely functional prototype to a major national retailer, and it was Blockbuster Video back when they were like huge. They ended up giving me a letter of intent just saying that they were interested in carrying the product once it was available. That letter helped me secure a manufacturing partner who invested over $100,000 in tooling, lent me their engineering team to finalize the design, and gave me 90-day payment terms so I could get paid by retailers before I ever had to pay the factory. Selling first doesn't slow you down. It keeps you from racing in the wrong direction. It shapes the product, exposes weak assumptions, teaches you what customers actually care about, and gives you an advantage that you simply can't fake. None of this guarantees success, though. Nothing does with hardware, but it dramatically reduces your risk and puts you in a much stronger position than building blind. So build with proof, not hope, and almost everything else gets easier. To get started, I suggest that you go talk to about 10 strangers about the problem that your product solves, write down the exact words that they use, and pay attention to what surprises you. And if you want expert help putting the rest of this into practice, you can get guidance from me and other experienced experts inside the Hardware Academy or through my private mentoring program. And if you found this video helpful, then this video right here is the best one for you to watch next.